Good evening. Welcome to the October 3rd meeting of the Board of Selectmen. This meeting is being recorded for cablecast and YouTube presentation by Area 58 Community Access Media. The video of this meeting is not to be considered an official public record. And I remember the date tonight.
Progress.
Yeah. Baby steps. Joining us tonight is a
Christine?
open hearing
It's, the wheel's broken and, yeah, thank you.
on tax classification. So joining us tonight is the Board of Assessors and the Assistant Assessor. And as soon as we get settled, thank you, sorry we're late. As soon as we're settled, we'll turn it right over to you and
Yes, I do. So,
John, could you get that to Bree? Thank you.
Be right back in.
so these are the packets.
we're a little at 6s and 7s. We've been in executive session and it went a little bit longer than we were planning.
Could I make some copies?
If it works, you're welcome to make as many as you want.
I don't know how well that's working, Deb.
No?
No, I had to put a call in today.
All right, let me remember.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
And you got those?
I did,
things
yeah.
that-
Thank you for my tabs. And
Okay.
this is yours.
I'm sorry, you want to go ahead and start? Or we're waiting for Deb?
We'll wait for that.
Okay.
Ethan is our chairman, so I think he...
Okay.
I need to borrow your packet. Thank you. She's still mine.
Hey, John, while we're waiting, can I switch and do tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay,
I thought
so
we
we'll,
did.
perfect, awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
We actually have a little sheet with a check. No, I haven't seen that yet.
I know that this is incredibly interesting television for you folks. It's all this paper shuffling.
And all the data is in there.
Okay. Looks like we're ready to go. Ethan, do you want to
yes.
start? Introduce yourself, introduce your board.
For the benefit of the viewers at home, my name is Ethan Stiles, and I'm chairman of the Plympton Board of Assessors for this year. And we're here to present our proposals for the annual classification hearing. Where this board, your selectmen, are going to determine whether there's going to be a single rate for the entire town, or if there's going to be a split rate whereby residential property will be taxed at a different rate compared to commercial and industrial and personal property. So that's the purpose of this meeting, of this portion of the meeting tonight. I believe the statutory requirements for publication have been met. And so with that, I think I'll turn over to the Assistant Assessor to give her recommendations. Thank you.
Looking at the data, let me tell you what page to go on.
If you look at, I'm gonna sit down because I have too many pieces of paper to stand up. Okay, the regional tax rates, I think it's the third or fourth page in. Okay, and this had been discussed previously, you know, what were the surrounding towns? There was some concern, the surrounding towns, and do they split the rate? Because it's important, of course, that Plympton not dissuade any commercial or industrial businesses from settling in town. So as you can see here, I chose the surrounding communities, Plympton, Middleborough, Plymouth, Carver, Hanover, Norwell, Bridgewater, Kingston, Pembroke, East Bridgewater, Halifax, Hanson, and Marshfield. Of the surrounding communities, 3 have a shift in the tax rate. Middleborough and Hanover shift 5% to the commercial, and you can see that the tax rates for Middleborough, the residential rate, this is fiscal 16, the residential rate was $15.92 and the commercial $16.94. Now they had 78.9 essentially percent residential, 21% commercial, industrial, and personal property. Hanover also shifts 5%. They're at 83% residential and 16.82, or 83.2 and 16.8 commercial, industrial, and personal property. The tax rates are 1686 and 1788. Now the ratio, in Carver is 81.2% residential, 18.8% commercial. And they shift 1.399% to the commercial. So the tax rate differential, the residential 1703, and the commercial is 26.26. So I sorted this by lowest percent of residential value, which brings Plympton to the top of the list. So you can see that we have a higher percent commercial than those 3 communities that do shift the rate. But the anomaly in this town is that we have one very large commercial taxpayer and a number of, one other, somewhat large. And then we look at, we have $60,800,000 essentially in commercial valuation with only 19 taxpayers. So if you look at Cisco, which is the top taxpayer in the town, and the projected values, we have preliminary certification, but we don't have final, so these are projected values. Their proposed value for their commercial, industrial, and personal property together is $68 million. And I think, I'm trying to think, of this 60 million, what percentage of it? I think we have 13 million of that is personal property. But when you shift the whole burden. So we're looking at, one large, we have the top 5 taxpayers in town. Number 1 is Cisco, and they have industrial, commercial, and personal property. Light Control, which is an industrial, and they have, the proposed value is only 5 million. So you're looking at 68 million, the next highest taxpayer is 5 million. And then we have residential taxpayer, Hasiotis, with residential land. Then 8 Mates Trust, which is mixed use with a little bit of commercial, and the remainder residential and land at 1.99 million. And then John Norrie, who has a residential, commercial, residential, industrial, and personal property for a total of 1.8 million. So, looking at this and discussing it with the board, even though our numbers with 72% residential might indicate the opportunity to shift, where we primarily have one large taxpayer, it's probably not recommended to make that shift. As the values were all brought together, it became apparent in that regard. I have additional pages in your handout, just showing you the trend in the valuations and the tax rates. The first page is the valuation by class, 2014, 15, 16, and 17, knowing that 17 is preliminary. So you look at the percent change in valuation. This year, single-family residential valuation increased 1.82%. The parcel count increased by 1 parcel. We're projecting the tax rate of 1806 with a 2.21% increase over last year. The average bill between the average increase in value and the increase in rate would increase approximately 3.95%. And the average value this year is up 1.7% over last year. And the total commercial valuation is $64.9 million, which is down 7.51% this year. Last year it was down almost 0.5%. Same parcel count. The average bill, it's not really an average bill because of the disparity in the valuations. Industrials are at essentially 2 million. That's up 2.3% this year. And the average bill is up about 4.5%. The average value 2.3%. So we're increasing steadily, but certainly the total valuation isn't increasing significantly. And then on the last page is the overall valuation by class. And the percent changes, pretty much is what I have just described to you, with the average valuation from 2012, 315,854 to this year, 341,226. So the residential market has improved over time, over the last 6 years in Plympton. In page 1 on the classification hearing handout, I talk about the tax levy and the preliminary valuation. So this year's preliminary real and personal property valuation is $478,714,690, and that's a 0.43% decrease over 2016.
Did you say increase?
Decrease
Oh, I'm sorry.
of the total valuation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And the tax rate is projected to increase 2.21%. And that's because the levy, the total amount to be raised by both tax and non-tax sources for fiscal 2007 increased by 4.3%. So that's, the articles at town meeting and then other recurring and state mandated expenses.
Is the commercial valuation that you've projected for 17, is that pretty well locked in?
Well, we'll know by end of day on Thursday, but I would say it's
And what happens on Thursday?
that's the end of our public disclosure period. So, but it's unlikely that commercial or industrial people come in on that. These are the questions that you would be voting on this evening.
Deb, what is the CPA one, the average valuation? I don't understand that line, or these three lines.
So-
What page are you on?
This
If the levy
is
is
the last
increased,
page.
it would just be an increased CPA
Okay.
based on the levy increase.
Okay,
The CPA is calculated on, there's a $100,000 exemption for property, so the CPA is calculated on, say it was a $300,000 property, $200,000 times the tax rate, and then it's 1.5%
okay,
on that.
all right, thank you.
Everybody pays, or, well, there are exemptions
Right.
for CPA.
What would be the impact if we allow these exemptions? Are these new exemptions?
No.
These are exemptions that we're currently,
They're state
Offering?
mandated, those are the questions that
Okay.
are state mandated.
You have mine.
Okay, I have, thank you. So, yes, so,
Just vote to,
so that would just be the same as what we're currently doing?
yeah,
yes,
Perfect.
residential.
Just affirm it.
Great.
and, you know, there was a question about how many commercial properties would be excluded with the small business exemption, small commercial exemption. There would be 4 properties excluded that meet the criteria of less than 10 employees.
Okay.
And under $1 million in value.
Is that part of the 19 or the 20 parcels that we're talking about?
That's part of the, well, there are 19 commercial properties and 26 industrial, so that's a total of, those,
45.
4 of the 19.
Oh,
So 15
Would still be subject to this shift.
commercial would be subject to the shift.
Okay.
And they range in value from 227,000 to 930,000. There's a wide spread there.
Is the value, under the first page, where you divide the levy by the value, is that the equal value? Is that the EQR, I think?
No, this is the total valuation of the town, the real and personal property.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not been adjusted at all?
No, this is what's being certified.
Okay.
And that's what our tax rate is based on, the total real and
Yeah,
personal property.
kind of an academic question. I noticed Middleborough is above the 1.5 in the split between residential and commercial. How did they get away with that? It's not much, but I mean,
There's a,
on that page that you had the regional tax rates,
right, but I'm looking at, for the page,
maybe it's something to do with their exemptions, I don't know.
yes, they can shift up to 1.75%.
Oh, so it's not 1.5, it's 1.75?
It's 1 point, and I don't have that page here, do I?
Is this 1%?
Oh, shift allowed, you're right, it's 1.5 here.
Yeah, but they do 1.05, right?
1.05,
So they only have a tenth, as opposed to Carver
Right.
is almost to the limit.
right. 1.05 on that, John.
No, whoever, maybe I'm reading, okay, the 1399, is that Carver? Okay.
That's
Yes, that's
Carver.
Carver.
Okay, so it's Carver that's over and above the
Well,
1.
no, they can shift up to 1.5, and they shifted 1.399.
So they are pretty close, but
Right.
they're not, but they're within the legal limit.
See the maximum shift allowed column to the left of the residential factor?
Mhm.
So they can shift up to 1.5, and they're at 1.399.
So I guess I misunderstood this. If I just take the residential rate and divide it into the CIP rate, it's over 1.5. I thought that was what was being referenced.
No, it's the shift, see
Okay.
the factors, the residential factor?
Okay.
So there's a residential factors that are developed based on the current, the straight percentages, and then there's a.
So that sounds like something for another evening.
It probably is.
So, anyway, because it appears that essentially you can shift a maximum roughly 50% from your residential to your commercial if you wanted to do that. I don't think we, in our wildest speculation, ever will look at anything close to that. I think we were more, if at best, we were looking more at Middleborough and Hanover lines of shift. Although the actual amount of difference, ultimately the tax rate between the residential and commercial, I'm not sure if we have numbers on that. So, on that.
Well, because the other communities have numerous commercial and industrial properties with, significant valuation, and we do not. I think that's, and that's what I explained.
Yes, essentially it's a soft, because once you cut out the one,
Right.
essentially you're left with a bunch of small businesses, and
Right.
which if you shift any modest amount, it's not going to have any substantial effect on the tax rate for the residents.
Yeah.
So what is your recommendation?
The board agreed that a single tax rate would be the recommendation tonight. A residential factor of 1.
Okay, which is what we've been doing all along. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Not at this point.
So do you want us to vote on these things
Yes.
separately?
Yes.
Okay, so voting on item 1, and entertain a motion that we do not split the tax rate.
Second.
That you adopt a residential factor of 1 would be the question.
Okay, so we don't have to go down through all of these things, it's just actually the one
You do.
question. I was starting at the top.
These are, this is smaller print, but, so you want to, so number 1, you want to adopt a residential factor of 1 if you don't want to split the rate.
Okay, so a motion that we adopt a residential factor of 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None.
And number 2 is the residential exemption, and that is for typically in a community that has a high rate, high percentage of second homes or rental properties. Obviously, Plympton doesn't fall into that category, so
Okay.
that would be your second question.
Okay, that's actually number 3.
Oh, okay.
Second question is open space.
Okay, open space and.
It doesn't affect us.
It doesn't affect Plympton, so.
Okay, so, a motion that we do not grant a discounted
a re-
to open space.
A residential, right. An exemption.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion that we do not grant a residential exception. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion that we do not grant a small commercial exemption.
Second.
I thought we did grant that.
But there are only 4 properties, and that's if you shift, but I mean, there are only 4 properties.
Okay, that would be affected by this, gotcha,
Right.
okay, all right.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's it.
That's it, and if you would sign the back of that, check off where appropriate. This is an online form, so if you sign the back tonight and date it, then I will be able to check the boxes online and submit it.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's a good thing you educated us a couple of weeks ago.
Was that helpful?
Yeah, it was very helpful.
You've already checked the appropriate boxes, isn't that correct?
Well, I was anticipating your vote,
Thank you.
but I can print out a form without them checked.
No, that's okay. We could always initial them if we wanted to change something, and we are not, so.
Do we all need to sign it or just
Yes,
Colleen?
all of
Okay.
you.
Great. That's terrific. Thank you for your
Thank
work,
you.
and thank you for coming here and
Here you go, John.
doing this.
I'll notify all of you when we have our certification and a tax
Terrific.
rate approval.
Okay, good, thank you.
Deb, could you give me a copy of that? Okay, great, thank you. Here you
Actually, this is one without signatures, but you can have that for me. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
All right, moving right along, we have Carver Urban Renewal Development last night. I mean, what did I say last night?
Last week.
Last week.
Okay, so what was interesting takeaway was that they were discussing acquisition of Melville property and Cole property, and the Cole property is going to be the primary entrance to the park. So I thought that was interesting that they hadn't acquired that property yet.
And those are
But
Carver properties?
These are Carver properties, but that will be the primary access to the park. But the developer was in discussions with both the property owners and felt very confident that they were going to be able to come to some type of agreement on the sale of the properties. We talked about the orientation of the properties in the park, that they wanted to try to make this so that it had as, to reduce the impact to the neighbors with lights and noise, to have all of the loading docks be facing towards 44. So they're just very cognizant of the neighbors. We did talk about the different designs that they had shared, and they really liked alternative 5 with the gates so that public access could, or emergency could get through there if they needed to. The feeling was it was going to be too tight of a turn, a left-hand turn off Montello, which would prohibit truck traffic, because they really wouldn't be able to make that left hand. But then there was concern in the event a truck went down Montello by mistake, what's he going to do? He's going to block up the road. There's really no place for him to go. So they were going to look at some type of alternatives so that a truck could be cleared in the event that they had gone down Montello from the Plympton side by accident. We talked about the design standards, and that they were soliciting input about the design standards, and we may want to talk to them about our lighting bylaw. That may be something that they'd want to consider in the design standards, so that the lighting isn't too obtrusive to the neighbors. The developer mentioned the possibility of closing Montello to through traffic. The RDA was very excited about that proposal. The neighbors that were there liked that a lot as well. In fact, they said that's the first thing you've ever said that I agree with. So there is, I told them that, in the past that we had actually talked about this with our attorney, and she said that we weren't able to do it, but that I would bring it back and see if it's something that we could legally pursue. So I think that that's probably, we may want to reach out to Alana and see if this is something that we could do so that it was closed to through traffic.
Well, I think we actually did reach out to Alana tonight, and she is going to look into.
She is.
It's basically an agreement, as long as both towns are in agreement, we can probably pursue this, and Alana is going to let us know the procedure.
The procedure to do it, so that's,
This would mean all Heather Path traffic would go down the Plimpton side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that, I don't know, where the gate, and that's what we talked about, was a gate, so that public safety could still either, cut the lock if they didn't have the key, but in the event of an emergency and they needed to open that up for some type of emergency vehicle, that they could get through the gate. This would make it easier to plow for the DPWs as well. So that's really the direction
So the
that
Carver
we're
line
heading.
is like over here?
the Carver line is over there. I'm not sure where the last house is, because I think the houses on the Carver side of Montello would like to be in the closed portion of the road.
So really, it's all in Carver then?
Yeah.
It's not us at all.
The Carver line comes right where Heather Pass comes out. And it doesn't, it's not squared, it runs at an angle.
So last week when we talked, we had asked about the possibility of going through the old Shaws, if that's...
I asked about that, and they said that they considered that about 7 years ago when they were in early discussions of this. The road is the area is too wet to support the type of truck traffic that would be required. But I thought that didn't make sense to me because it looked like there was already a road
Yes.
back there. But that's what they said, that it was too wet to support truck traffic.
You know, watching the tape the other night, it seems like things are moving our way, you know?
I think that they're very cognizant of working with the neighbors and working together towards a mutually acceptable.
I'm just wondering if we should have a joint meeting and have, you know, maybe the Selectmen, Highway, have Jim Mulcahy involved, just to brainstorm a few things, because we certainly want to help them get to a point that's good for both parties, so.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I had met with Jim before our meeting last week, and he liked the proposal with the raised island. They really didn't like that. They're
Yeah.
DPW, and I asked at the end of the meeting if they would mind if Jim contacted their DPW to talk about different, the raised island and other road concerns, and they said sure, they really
That's a great
welcomed
idea.
that.
I mean, to have those two talk.
Yeah, so I think that they should get together, and they may need to be working together if we're gonna be closing Montello anyway, or considering closing Montello.
I just think that you've got a good feel for this, so when you think the time is right, if there's a meeting needed, then we should, you know, reach out to them.
Is there another meeting scheduled?
There is not another meeting scheduled. I told them I hope to have an answer back from our council for our next meeting, so we could talk about closing the road. So hopefully we'll have something back from Alana about what the steps are
Okay, so-
that are needed.
I guess maybe you should follow up with Ilana about,
Okay.
since the closing would be solely within Carver.
I'm assuming, that's what everyone said, was that they were all in favor of it. That's something that we'll have to
Because I had a feeling when we were
hash out.
talking tonight, she maybe thought it was going to be at the town line,
In Plympton.
and it might not be.
I mean, we could, but
It wouldn't help these people.
it wouldn't help those people.
We should help our neighbors.
Right, exactly. And if we just went down a little bit further, it might be more beneficial to all of the residential properties on the street.
So, excuse me, just so she has a full picture, do you want to just send her an email?
Yeah, I'll
and make
shoot her an
sure?
email. Perfect, and let her know that there is consideration of actually closing it further down the road in Carver,
Okay,
rather than Plympton.
well, it sounds like things are
Yeah,
moving
that's
nicely there
good.
then.
On Montello Road, this is kind of a subsidiary type thing, where we've got neighbors saying some want it paved and some don't want it paved, and Jim's taking a position that, you know, until this is figured out, probably doesn't make sense. I'm just wondering if maybe you could ask Jim about oiling the road. Because I remember living in places where there were dirt roads and they oiled it, and it kept down the dust.
He does
and-
do dust control periodically.
Okay, so
I don't
maybe
know if it's
that's-
oil or what.
It's
what he
not
does,
oil.
but-
He said it's some type of, I think, organic substance, and it
Yeah.
smells quite badly when they do it. And the neighbors were concerned with their dogs getting into it, but I don't think
Okay.
there was any hazard
We'll scratch that.
with it. But we may need to talk about some type of turnaround, you know, because God forbid a delivery truck, you know, UPS or FedEx comes down here,
Yeah.
and we close off the road, there's gonna be, you know, need to be a way for somebody to turn around, and maybe that's a conversation with Jim and their DPW as things progress, to try to come up with a
I did
plan.
ride down the road with Jim You know, and he showed me where the lines were and Heather's Path and all that, and boy, it's tight there. I mean, it's, not quite sure how you do it. But Mr. Mulcahy, I'm sure will figure it out.
Yeah, or they may just have to back up into somebody's driveway and turn around
Yeah.
that way.
Or even though the Carver people might like the gate to be on the other side of them, if it were here, then the turnaround could be actually in that industrial area. So that's, I mean, it looks like it's turning out better than we had feared.
Yeah.
And we just have to wait to see how things progress. So again, they still haven't applied for their urban renewal thing or
No.
NEPA or anything yet.
No, it's still very preliminary, but they are definitely wanting to work with us and the neighbors, so it's
I'm
really
glad you
been
go into that. I
refreshing.
think that was a great move.
So you keep us appraised of
Absolutely.
the next meeting date.
And I will reach out to Alana and let her know we're thinking about going to Carver, and if that makes it any different for the road closure.
Okay, so the next on the agenda is the Public Safety Building Committee recommendation to hire design service people, company. So we did have, we had about 10 or 11 proposals received. We ranked them all, you know, they all get assigned numbers, and we came out with the top 3. We interviewed the top 3 and, again, ranked them and came up with Dunham and Sweeney Architects as our top choice. And I did send you their proposal. It was a little later than I had meant to do it, but, so, it looks like it's a good proposal for us. It's $70,000, which is below what we had sort of allotted for it. And so we would like, the committee recommends that the Board of Selectmen accept this and we start going forward on this project.
Yeah, I don't think I saw your letter, or did I?
I don't know, it was the proposal from Dunham and Sweeney.
Yeah.
It's basically what they're going to do.
So I don't, you know, I watched the tape the other night, and it seems like you people are making good progress, and everybody was in agreement. Seems like the thing to do.
Okay, so a
I
motion
agree.
that we sign the agreement and we move forward on this.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye,
Okay,
good work.
thank you. There's 2 copies there, so
Okay.
we'll sign, so we each have an original.
It's nice to be making progress with
It
this.
is. And again, I had hoped to have some information on the possible land purchase, but, go ahead. It's just been a busy time of year for the seller, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet. So, alrighty, so the next thing is the permit renewals, and I think, Bree, you were going to give us a list of the businesses that needed a site visit? Okay, I guess we'll do that next week.
No, I sent that to, over to the fire department.
Okay, the fire visit is different from our visit. Our
Okay.
visit is to count cars and that sort of thing.
So you'll need each individual one because each one is
Different.
totally different.
Right,
So I'll have to give you the whole, okay.
okay.
I
so
was doing it like the site inspection with the fire and the,
I
what am I-
probably was not clear when we talked about it.
so what I'll
Last
do
week.
is I'll scan each license itself, because on the license it will say it.
I think it would be probably easier if you just did an Excel spreadsheet and put the name and address and then what's supposed to be there.
There's a lot on them. Some of them have a few. We'll have to look at one.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some of them have like 9
multiples.
things, some have 2.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
A lot of
Yeah.
conditions.
They were all different.
Okay.
I don't know last year.
Well, can we, maybe get some kind of list where so we can just break it up into 3 portions and we have.
Sure. We wanted to pick each. I remember Mark went out to several
Yeah, he did
He
class
took
2s and class 3s.
And went out in the morning and counted.
Okay, so we'll leave that on for next week and
Perfect.
Okay.
take care of it then. Water quality update, I don't think we really have anything that was sort of dependent on maybe getting some reports from the DEP.
Relative
Takes
to-
time.
Yeah, relative to Rocky.
Relative to the Rocky Harvest water removal and whether or not that's affecting, or whether they're doing what they need to be doing to
Right.
not affect.
It's in the works, we should have some information from
Yeah.
them. I'm hoping soon, but it's an FOI request, and then they sent an email back and treated it as an FOI request and said that in this case, it may actually take longer than 10 days for them to compile that information and get it to us, which is legally what they have to do. So I'm assuming we should have it within a couple of weeks.
Okay, so we're working on it.
And this stemmed from the concern over the Jones Brook being low? Is that where this came from?
Yeah, we had a resident came into the meeting and he just said he was visiting another resident who lived on the Jones Brook and it was dry and had never been this dry before, and is there anything in the contract that speaks to, the contract with Rocky Harvest, that speaks to drought years, basically.
Okay.
And there is actually some language in the contract, but we have to start by finding out what they've been drawing. And that's what these reports will tell us.
Great.
Okay, next item is the robotic camera installation, which will be happening on November 21st and 22nd, with a possible overflow onto the 23rd. And Bree is going to make sure that everybody knows that no meetings can be scheduled in that room for those days.
The clerk's office has been told, so she won't. The assistant clerk also, so she said she won't schedule any meetings for that. Did you
Okay.
get the answers to your questions that he sent?
I don't think I did.
About preparing anything? I have them.
Oh, no, I didn't get that. I actually ran into Rich at the movies, and
Okay.
we talked a little bit about it, but he didn't answer all the questions. So do you want to run over that, or if there's anything critical that...
Preparing the room for the workmen, as long as they have access, they're fine. They'd originally wanted a key. I didn't think that we were giving a front door key.
Right.
About needing any input on equipment or controls. They said if we had any concerns, I don't know if someone wants to be there for when they're installing these cameras.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So do we know, is it
The
just sort
location
of
of the
centered
control.
in the ceiling, or we don't know that?
Usually they do two angles, usually they do it 2 angles, 2 cameras.
Okay.
At a minimum, in other words, one looks out in the audience, the other one looks, in the board or who's speaking.
And they don't actually need a control room or any of that kind of
It's a
thing?
control console, it's not really a room, but
Okay.
it's a control console.
Whoever has it,
I'd
sit
like
in the
to
back of the
I'd like to
room.
walk through with them anyways when they do it.
Yeah.
And he did say that here, John, he said the location of the control hardware has already been decided on, but he would certainly
Yeah,
listen to any.
yeah.
Okay.
So a long time ago. They have a plan. I can get that plan for you if you'd like.
Yeah, we were
that'd be great.
evaluated for that a couple of years
Yes.
back, and the position of the cameras and the setup and where the control
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
panel went, which is actually in the back corner of the room.
So we'll still need a cameraman to run the equipment, basically.
Usually you do, yes.
And one thing he did say when I saw him the other night is that there is a possibility that if we wanted some other meetings filmed, we could train or have somebody trained to run that equipment for us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's done on a volunteer basis in some other towns. In my town, they do it on a volunteer basis. They have someone who comes in and operates the cameras during whatever meetings they happen to be putting on.
Then you asked about the FinCom and public safety.
So they would just continue on as they are now with a,
Yeah. They are welcome to use that room now,
okay,
but they are not required to.
okay. All right, so that takes care of that. That was again on November 21st, 22nd, and possibly the 23rd. So that's a Monday, Tuesday, and possibly Wednesday. Okay,
I got a couple of things when you get to it.
well, let's finish. Anybody want to say anything, add anything, or subtract anything from the parking lot?
I'll just report on the Affordable Housing Committee. At my old Colony Planning Council meeting, I spoke with Eric Aberdeen, who helped us out with our, I think our hazard mitigation plan was what it was called. And he suggested that we apply for a DLTA grant in January to hire a consultant to assist them in creating a affordable housing plan for us, similar to what they did with Halifax. I guess they're in the process of updating Halifax's plan right now. And Eric said that he would request our real estate data that is needed for this. So he said we really don't need to have a local real estate agent serve on the committee, that they would get that data for us. So my recommendation would be that we make the appointments to this committee in January, and then I'll apply for the DLTA grant, and they'll help us put together an affordable housing
Okay.
plan.
The email doesn't say when the grant deadline is.
The grant will not be available until January. I can't apply for it until
Right.
January. It'll be in the next
Okay,
grant cycle, exactly.
so
Thank you.
January is plenty of time before, we don't need to form the committee before then?
No, we
Okay.
shouldn't need to form a committee. It should be an easy grant application, so I think we'll be all set.
Okay.
But you're right, I don't even know when the deadline is, thank you.
Okay, I think the Board of Selectmen goals and priorities have sort of fallen by the wayside. I think we can take it off for now and just wait until we're ready to put it
Okay.
back on again.
The task sheet?
The task sheet, yeah, you've been keeping it up?
Well, I just have to look at it the last time and nobody did.
You want to pass it on?
It's in-
We'll take a look at it?
Sure.
briefly?
I'd like to have David.
Kim's got a question.
If I may, I have a comment on the parking lot. I couldn't help but notice the item 8 on legal advice for executive sessions, posting agendas, and committee votes. Some of you may have been in one of Alana's semi-annual or biannual, whichever it is, workshops that Copeland and Page puts on for their clients at no cost. And we've had 2 or 3 now. And I think 2 were on a Saturday, usually in the winter. And she prepares for the workshop with both the standard review of the do's and don'ts of committees, and will entertain special topics for that workshop as well as Q&A. I think some of you may have been in one of them. Didn't know if you felt that, hey, those were helpful. Happened to talk to Alana in the parking lot tonight. She kind of brought it up like it's something they'd like to do again. And I see here more or less the same question. Committee voting is clearly right then, the do's and don'ts of executive session, members 1 through 8
Yeah.
or whatever. So
Yep.
it seems to me that that item on your parking lot is satisfied in whole or in part by the free cost workshop from Copeland and Page that Alana's done
Sure.
2 or 3 times now, and especially for new members, on committees, I almost like to see it be mandatory, because they're the people that don't know all the quorum rules and all the posting rules and all the rules.
Okay, so this was on here because a couple questions have come up over the summer and the fall, and they've been addressed, and I thought, well, maybe we should share this information, and I haven't put it together, but you're right, maybe we should just have Ilana out for another free session. So, what do you two feel about that?
If it's free, sure.
Yeah, we
That's
can do
great.
that.
All right, so,
There's
It's more than
also,
what you pay for, you get a lot out of it.
that's true. Old Colony Planning Council puts together a list of all of the training courses in the area that they're affiliated with. And on Thursday, October 13th, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the War Memorial Building Auditorium in Brockton, they'll be doing open meeting law training. So if anybody wanted to, go to Brockton and get some free training on open meeting law, that's available then.
Do we get mileage?
No.
So shall I contact Ilana and ask if she'd be willing to do this?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
And do we have any idea when we'd like it to happen? Do we want it November, December, January, February?
Yeah, maybe we should do it in February before committees start meeting, where it's kind of a slow time, and before town meeting, when everybody's gearing up and
Budgeting's
doing.
getting into high gear then,
Well, then maybe January.
yeah.
Okay. I will put it up to
Yeah.
her for January/February and let her,
That sounds perfect.
give her input on it. Thank you, Ken. All right, so
I
back
got
to
a
the...
couple of, okay, you want to
just-
go over that?
We'll just take a quick look at it. How about the Collins Group? Have we heard anything?
No, I've got to reach out to them. I haven't, we signed that letter, right, Dale, and sent it off so that they got payment on the first half of, remember you wrote something up for us?
For the
and
Collins Group?
Yeah, did we?
Yeah.
We did sign
We
it.
signed it? Okay.
Yeah, it's signed, it went in,
Okay.
and they're in the process.
Okay.
They'll be sending.
I'll
them
reach out to
back.
Monica.
And, technically, we're still missing information that they need. They need the
We
public
are,
safety building
yeah.
information, and that's,
You're right.
well, we're working on it.
You're getting
That's all
closer.
we can say.
Getting closer.
So establishing financial policies, we've basically done that.
Through the Collins Group.
Establishing the financial forecast, that's,
We've done that.
yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about how to use it, and that's maybe for another discussion. And I think we have to reach out to the finance committee and say what are their plans vis-a-vis that.
Right, and Barbara, on how we're going to use
Yeah.
this forecast.
Okay, at this point, I don't really see anything on this list that we need to address, and maybe it needs some updating, so why don't you send it to all of us again, and we'll,
Send it to me too.
Well, the one thing that this board committee's contact list, we have to get that done. That's on you, right? So if you go on to the boards and committees on the website and you call up the Excel spreadsheet, we still have Mark Russo and John Henry on there, the selectmen, and it's not laid out well, and I'd be glad to work with you on that pretty, but,
Tara has that all set, it's gonna be formatted, it's done.
well, somebody ought to get it up because it doesn't look very good right now.
okay, why don't you stop and talk to Tara and
Yeah.
see
Yeah, I'm not sure
if she
what
needs
it
a hand with it,
entails.
or what's going on.
I know that it was up to date and
The other piece on there is we ought to set a date for the communication meeting and get an agenda together, at least a straw proposal.
For what meeting?
We were going to put together a monthly communication meeting.
Oh, okay. We can set that.
Yeah, so we ought to set it for this month and put a straw agenda in.
Okay. So,
And maybe that plays into the community roundtable, that Maureen Springer and Jason Frazier. I mean, this is internal staff, but we ought to be thinking about what do we want to do there. Seems like we probably should have quarterly meetings.
yes, and I did try to clarify what Maureen had envisioned, and I haven't gotten a
Yeah, maybe we just need
recent
to
response. so.
just sit down and hash it out. She may not know entirely.
So do you want me to put that on one of the next two agendas to see if Maureen would come in and
Yeah,
and talk with us?
that'd be good. We still have the 13th.
Right, that we'll be going to Kingston.
Yeah. Could at least mention it there again, too.
Yeah, the vote for the land purchase was going to be on a special meeting in Kingston, and that has been postponed, or they're not going to have the special town meeting. The land vote is going to happen at the regular annual town meeting.
Right. Well, I don't
So-
even know if it's going to happen then. from the way
Well,
we're talking.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the impetus behind our going to the school committee meeting is perhaps reduced, but I think it's good that we still attend that and just have our say, I guess.
When is that next meeting?
The Silver Lake School Board
October
is on
13th.
October 13th. And that's in the middle school, not the high school, not the elementary school. Okay, we still need somebody for planning board. Again, it has to be somebody who meets some very specific qualifications.
So I sent you out a list of potentials. I've also called John Rentuccio twice and left messages, and I haven't heard back, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll try him again, but
Did you get the number from the local source, or did you get it from Christine?
I got it from Jack O'Leary, because he served with him.
Okay,
And I get the voicemail that says, "This is John."
okay,
Yeah.
because I understand he's the one using a cell phone right now. So,
Oh, well, okay.
do you want to say something, Jen?
He is only using his cell phone now, and I don't believe he's living at his house.
Dumpster in the driveway.
I think that there's some rehab going on at his house, and he may not be there.
All right. I'll get his number
Christine
and call his
Morano
cell
has
phone.
got his cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know if he's actually still living in Plympton while this is going on?
I don't believe so. I believe, well, I've heard that he's living in a hotel in Middleborough,
Okay.
but that may have been, that was a month ago. It may not be current. But Christine was going to give him a ride to the planning board meeting 2 meetings ago,
Yes.
and
Didn't happen.
it didn't happen.
Right.
That's also raises a question then, if he's not actually living in town, he can't actually serve on the planning board.
Well, it may be temporary,
So
so we
it's
need to
something to
clarify
find
that.
out, yeah.
I'll follow up with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Dale, do you have?
Yeah, on the Mayflower Health Group, I'm in the process of getting 2 years' experience from Mayflower, and then
Great.
on the recommendation of John, I'm going to contact Jack, I guess it's Jack Nichols is how he goes by, Jack Nichols, and he's agreed to do a workup for us at no cost.
Nice.
And at the same time, I will also contact, his information will be valuable. I'll also contact Maya because they're in that business as well. I did contact her before, but I had a conversation, it took me until last week to finally make a connection with Charlie Seelig, and had a long discussion on the phone with him about, basically the status of Mayflower and where it's going and all of that. And I mean, he was candid. There is a lot of concern in certain areas that they're digging so deeply into their reserves to keep to keep the lid on, to keep the cost down. And even though they're doing a 15% increase this year, they're still going into the reserves. So there's some question in the future as to where they may be, in order to keep going. So I think John made the point, and I think it's valid. We should definitely just sort of look around and see what's going on. There are larger groups out there that we could. I think our experience is. I think it's pretty good. I don't know exactly. I haven't. I don't know. I'm not privy to it until I actually get the form. But I think our experience is pretty good. So we're probably a fairly good bet. And I had contacted Maya and asked them if they would be interested in quoting on it a few years ago, and they didn't, but Charlie seems to think now they might be, because they didn't really necessarily want to get into Mayflower's turf at that particular point in time, but now that things are a little bit different, they may in fact want to do that. And I dealt with them in Mendon when I was there. They were very good, and they're pretty reasonable, and of course they've got a huge group because they got the whole state of Massachusetts, well, not the whole state, but a huge portion of the state of Massachusetts in terms of municipal employees, so. But again, I think, Jack, KD Consulting is his group, lives in Marblehead. And I'll probably have a report on that next week for you, or are we meeting next week?
No, 17th.
Okay, well, I'll certainly have it by the 17th.
So Charlie's is one person who has raised a lot of questions in the
A lot of questions.
Mayflower meetings.
Yeah.
But he's still,
But they're still, they're
Sticking
not.
with
Yeah, for the time being. for the time being. He said they've got, Mayflower will make their FY18 move by December of, by December of this year. I think he had it. They'll vote by December for what happens on 6/30/17, so that would be, probably be good to be fairly well prepared going in there, just to see, in case they're going to have it. I don't know why, they've held the lid on it very good over the course of their 9-year history. Hit an average of 4.81%, but again, people are a little nervous about the long-term projections now because they've dug so deeply into the reserves to keep the increases down. But we'll find out, and I'll have that on the 17th. On another matter, I was in touch with Michael Rodriguez today, our IT guy, and we're going to be switching fairly soon to Microsoft Exchange. It should be transparent to everybody, except you will be able to use Outlook, and you won't use the site that we're using now to access your email.
Oh, so it won't be ex-ghost?
No, none of that. No, you'll actually be able to. Put it as an address on your home computer if you want, or it will work with all of that. So I'm just purging the list and make sure that we don't have any extra emails going over when we do the transfer, and it'll be transparent, but I'll send it to everybody when it's done.
And when do you project that?
He just says he's getting ready to make the move to Microsoft hosted Exchange, and very soon. And they have to purchase a license for every user, so that's why he just told me to double check the email list and see. We can add more if we want, but I can also subtract some going in if there are some. I don't think there's too many extras. We've got about 36 now, and may be able to knock 3 or 4 off of that, but we may want to add some back in after
I think there are people that we need to add, because we've been getting the public information requests, and these people need to have town emails, and, again...
I agree. I agree. Any town business, board business, whatever, should be conducted on a town email.
And if it's going to be easier to use, there should be no reason to not use it.
And beyond that, the legal ad came out in Goods and Services today, and today was the day of publication. I haven't heard anything, but I didn't expect to hear anything. I should hear something as time goes on, so I will post you on that later on. And that's it so far.
Okay, John, you had something else?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I talked last week about this Commonwealth Interactive Collaborative Exchange, ICE. So I finally got signed up into it.
Okay.
As administrator. So now I think I should send a memo out. Anybody who wants to get on a technology-oriented sharing, okay, it's a closed group, but we can put as many people on it as we want. I don't know whether you all want to be on it or not. Dale should be on it. And then anybody on the boards or committees that has a technology bent. And I'll send it to the people that I'm pulling together to see. So I think that'll be something that'll give us something down the road. I sent a note to Tony Caruso, who's the Vice President of Manufacturing for the Light Control, trying to set up a tour. And I haven't heard a thing, which I gotta see if my email's working. So I'll follow up on that and see if I can put that together.
Okay.
I think that was it. Oh, I got a note came into me about a Jake brake, a Jacobs engine brake making too much noise, which I didn't know what a Jake brake was. So I sent it to Jim Mulcahy, and he's looking at it to see if there's anything we can do.
Is it a town vehicle, or is it a Cisco vehicle?
It's any trucks coming into the town that,
Usually that's on hills, though. That's not...
Well, apparently this is from, I'm not going to name the resident, but...
Mayflower Road?
Especially Route 58 in Mayflower Road. Yeah. And this person mentioned that other towns have put up signs, no Jake brakes.
Yeah.
So Jim was going to take a look at it and see.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
It's distracting, especially if you have horses. It's really distracting.
Yeah, it is noisy.
You see those signs actually all over Maine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one with the corner over there. That's okay.
Okay, I think I'm done.
You're done, okay, you get to do correspondence then.
Okay, this is from Chief of Police Patrick Dillon. Honorable Selectmen, I want to request that you appoint the above-listed individuals to the position of Special Police Officer. As you know, we have promoted Officers Simon and Gagnon to the full-time ranks of our police department. The above candidates will help replace those officers in our volunteer program and help serve the town during parades and other special events. Kristen Oberg has served as a police officer in the town of Dennis and Brunswick, Maine. He is also a defensive tactics instructor with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Matthew All previously served the town of Whitman as an auxiliary officer for 6 years. He is a graduate of the Plymouth County Reserve Officers Academy. Both candidates have successfully cleared the department background investigation. They are mature professionals who will bring significant training and experience that will be utilized by our police department. These appointments will bring our special police program to full capacity. I fully support these appointments.
Okay, so a motion to accept the chief's recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And those are annual appointments, aren't they? Till June 30th, 2017, maybe?
Yeah.
I think it's actually says.
What does it says on it?
It doesn't say. Oh, is it? I'm sorry, it's right there in big writing. Bold.
Should be right under the,
It is.
Oh.
okay.
Yeah.
I knew I'd seen this. This is from Tom Milius, relevant to 6 Maple Street.
All right, well, that's what we were looking for and
Yep.
didn't get in time. Okay. All righty, that's good, thank you.
You saw this is from Ryan Emery. We are the environmental consultants for Eric Anderson, who owns the former country store at 266 Main Street. And this is on the groundwater cleanup at 266 Main, and I believe you said it was the Board of Health. Should respond to that.
To seal and,
Yeah.
They want to know if they need permission to finish the project and seal all of those wells.
right, which I would think would be through the Board of Health, not
Board of
us.
Health, yeah. I think
So-
the Board of Health would probably be the way to go.
And that's been sent on to them, right?
Yeah, I did forward it to the whole board.
Did you notify them?
I forwarded that whole email to.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
sent
you
it to
want
the Board of Health.
You want me to contact them and tell them that, oh, Board of Health has it too?
I
Okay.
sent that to them, but I wanted to know.
I'll double down and tell them
Yeah.
that the Board of Health is where they need to go for that.
Perfect.
This is from Fire Chief Warren Borsari. Just want to bring up the Board of Selectmen up to speed on the developing public safety risk to our residents. Due to a worsening drought condition, some of our residents have expressed concern about the low levels in the water wells. They are deeply concerned about losing water to their homes. One resident, actually, their well ran dry, and the fire department is providing water to the resident. So, that was to let us know. Hopefully we're gonna get some more rain.
Yeah, I think that was a shallow well. Shallow wells are really taking a beating this year.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't put them in anymore, but these are old ones.
Anybody who would like to attend a coffee hour with State Rep Tom Calta, that'll be Saturday, October 15th at 9:30 to 10:30 at the Village Cafe. Tom will be there to meet and greet, and you get a free cup of coffee and some conversation.
Excuse me for just a moment before
Sure.
that. Bree, would you scan this in and send it to all 3 of us?
Yes.
Thank you.
The Plympton Halifax Express. Standing room only at Water Forum. There were a lot of Plimpton residents there at that, and Jack O'Leary was there as part of the panelists, did a nice job, and a really nice write-up on what went on there. Article about early voting in Halifax and Plimpton, which is great. Plimpton Girl Scouts adopt a dog. I went to that. That was a fun time.
Was it?
It was.
Oh.
They just really do a great job.
Where did the
dressing up.
dogs come from that they put up for adoption?
Well, a lot of them, apparently, some of the places that said that they would come to this didn't show up, so they didn't have that many dogs for adoption, and they apologized for that. But other people were bringing their own dogs and had them dressed up in costumes.
Oh, that's so cute.
It was a fun time. And Silver Lake improves to 3-0 on the gridiron. I can't say that. Gridiron after 47 defeat of Quincy.
Very nice.
Yeah, great.
They won again Friday.
Did they?
Yeah,
Wow.
they did.
All right,
So they're
Go Silver Lake.
4-0, yeah.
terrific. All right, so the next Board of Selectmen's meeting is on the 17th. Next week is Columbus Day. The next Public Safety Building meeting is on the 12th, which is next Wednesday. The meeting with the Silver Lake Regional School District School Committee is on the 13th, which is Thursday. And now we have minutes. Does anybody have amendments? I, of course, do.
I didn't have anything.
Thanks, Colleen.
Sorry. Some of them are very brief. It says the planning board. I just want to make sure that anybody who looks at them understands that that's Carver's planning board, not ours. Under light control, I think John said that they're currently using 12 of 88 acres, and part of their facility is rented to another company.
Yes.
That they have no plans to expand or move their business at this time. You were going to, according to the minutes, it says that you're going to submit the application for the Community Compact IT grant. Is that, because in the past you sort of have been the Community Compact person.
I don't think it was me.
So that's what I'm looking.
Why don't we just leave it as the board will apply for
Yeah,
an IT grant?
Okay, so we're gonna.
that's going to be important.
That is going to be real important. I got something about that.
We talked about going a little grander. I remember that.
Absolutely. Go big.
That's the
That's the
board.
worst thing I can say is no. You said that
Yeah,
already.
that's it.
Okay, public information requests. I basically rewrote it to say that I asked that the public records request be specific and clearly state what information the requester wants. Additionally, we request that all emails sent by employees, committees, and boards have a distinct subject line that fits the information contained within. New subject should be introduced in separate emails rather than just becoming part of the email train to allow for easier and quicker search of public record topics. So I just fleshed that out a little bit, and this reminds me that we actually had asked you to send this out to the committees, so,
No, I think it was up to me, wasn't it?
Was it?
On the postings?
I'm not sure, but I think if you just sort of take what I
Take
just
that,
wrote,
put that into
it's
an email.
fine. I added that Art Moran is the chair of the Board of Health. And I forwarded the DEP contact information to Dale, not just an email. So just pretty minor changes. And has Irv Butler served 44 years? Or somehow I thought there was a 5 in there. Does anybody actually remember that?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
It was
So you have the resignation.
45 years in town. And he's been here for 45 years.
Okay, we'll just double check the resignation, and I think it says on the
Do we have some
resignation.
sort of appreciation for him?
I think we will when we actually fill that spot and then he literally retires.
Do you want me to send that little blurb that to everybody?
Yes, that's what I would like, is that,
I'll put it on Board of Selectmen letter.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very clear as to what needs
I'll
to
do
be
it as an
done.
attachment.
obviously you can't, we're not sending that out to the residents, but to employees, committees, and boards, yeah.
I have a whole board and committee. I can just say.
Perfect.
And then, on the last page, the Colonial Power Group aggregation plan was also posted on the website, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's what you were working on the other day.
Yeah,
so.
it's on, it's up, and the clock is running on that. I believe it runs until the 17th.
Okay. So, those are my changes, basically. So, a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Opposed?
Bree, I'm gonna recuse or abstain from voting because I wasn't here for all the meeting, and I just am not sure how that works, and it's probably best if I just don't vote at all.
Okay. Okay, we've reached the end of the agenda. Anybody have anything else that needs to be discussed tonight?
Are you abstaining?
I'm gonna abstain.
Yes.
We do have from Old Colony Planning Council a self-nomination form to serve on their MPO, which is the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Organization, which concerns itself with transportation in the region. And I don't know, would either one of you like to serve on this?
No, thank you.
Okay, do you not? All right, I'll throw my name in the hat and see what happens.
I don't think we've ever actually had a rep on this.
You'll be accepted, you know that.
Not necessarily, they have to vote for me. It's not a given, Dale, really.
All right, having
I'm not
nothing
gonna count my
else.
chickens.
Not sure they've ever
motion to
voted
adjourn the
against
meeting.
warm body.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good night, and thank you all for watching.